Hello and welcome to News and Views with the Mayor. And I'm Harvey Persons, the new mayor of the city of Douglasville, and I want to welcome you to our new show and the programming that we're going to have with that. The first segment I'd like to cover today is some things that I've done during the first 30 days in office. And it's been a very busy first 30 days, and I'm very thankful for that. I'm excited about the new challenges that I'm facing with the opportunity of being mayor, and it's been very exciting working with the community and working with the staff and the employees with the city of Douglasville. We have an excellent staff and employees that help us get the job done and bring you the services that you need and expect with the city. Give you a couple of things or a couple of ideas of what I've been doing during this first 30 days. One of the first things I did when I came into office was I wanted to make sure that I knew about the fiscal state of the city. That was one of the things that was on my campaign trail that I said is fiscal responsibility. So to have true fiscal responsibility, you have to know where you are. You have to know where your resources are. You have to know what the monies you have on hand are and what your liabilities are. It's no different than your household running your own home budget, except with a $20 million budget, it's a little bit bigger. So once we got into that, understood where we were with the financial state, started talking about ensuring that we had some controls and some comparisons in place that would help us look at on a monthly basis and ensure where we are financially so that we knew on an ongoing basis that we continued to be financially solvent and we were truly being good stewards of the assets and the resources that you, the citizens, had entrusted us with. Because that's what we want to make sure that we're doing, is being good stewards for you, the citizens. Been working with the new council, met with each one of the council members on an individual basis, start to develop the relationship and the rapport with them, because governing is truly a collaborative effort between the mayor and the council. All of us were elected to come up here to conduct the business of the city, represent you as the citizens, and see that you get the type of government that you want, need, and expect. And that's the thing that each one of the council members and I are working to ensure that you, the citizens of Douglasville, get. Another thing that we have done in the first 30 days is met with our state delegation. The legislature, as most of you know, is in session now down under the Gold Dome in Atlanta. We had a meeting with the legislature, or our local delegation, to talk about some of the issues that we wanted them to look at when they were looking at the legislative process as it related to Douglasville. Two of the major things that we brought to their attention was when you go to vote, there are some citizens within the city of Douglasville that when they go to vote, especially in city elections, if there's another thing on the ballot, they have to go maybe to two different polling locations. We felt that that was something that our citizens didn't need to do. We brought that to the attention of the state delegation, and they're going to take a look at it. The other thing, as most of you probably have already heard about, is the new ward maps. During our first 30 days, I appointed a committee to look at the ward map and look at seeing if there was anything that needed to be changed that would help give you, the citizens, better representation and to see that communities of interest were not split or divided. We were able to come up with a map that we felt better serves those needs for you, the citizens, and the council was very much in agreement on that. We've had Mayor's Day downtown Atlanta, which that consisted of training, seminars, and things that helps bring the council and the mayor up to speed on things that are going on within the state, but it also helps us be better informed with the things that we need to do to better govern our city. We've also had meetings. I've had meetings in the community with our Main Street program, with the Keep Douglasville Beautiful program. We awarded a grant to one of our businesses on Front Street, and it was a facade grant where we match money that they put into it, and what that does is help keep Douglasville beautiful. But along the lines of the Keep Douglasville Beautiful program, we met with the Red Lobster and got a tour of their new facility. And when I say new, it's the changed facility. If you haven't had an opportunity to go eat there, I would encourage you to. They've totally redone the inside, their menu, the outside. and it truly gives you the appearance of being in New England, and the food is excellent. We are also working with the Chamber Collaborative, and what that is the Chamber and the several of your leaders within the community, the mayor, the chairman, WSA, our school board superintendent, Dr. Gordon Prince, and several others within the community representing Wellstar and several other entities are meeting together to work on a collaborative effort so we can come together to define what we feel is the direction that the community wants to go. We're going to expand that to include more citizen participation from different groups. We'll also include the faith-based group to this expanded group. I've also had 2 meetings with ARC, and I'm happy to announce yesterday they assigned the committee appointments, and I will be serving the citizens of Douglasville at ARC on the Transportation Board. We feel that that'll truly help us get better representation with transportation issues, as our current chairman, Tom Worthan, is the chair. So the chairman and I have talked about it, and we feel that that'll really give us an opportunity to better serve you as it deals with transportation. In closing, I'd like to invite you, or probably by the time you see this, it'll be too late to invite you, because we're going to have after hours with the Chamber tonight. City of Douglasville is sponsoring that. It's going to be held at our new police facility on Fairburn Road. And in closing, I would like to make sure that you come back, watch the program, see the views portion of it, where we'll have an interview with our chairman, Tom Worthan. I'm looking forward to that, and that's continuing that campaign promise that I made, that the city and the county will work together to help make this one of the premier places in America to live, and so that we can have a safe environment to live, work, play, and raise a family. With that, thank you, and I look forward to seeing you out on the streets of Douglasville and Douglas County. Thank you. Believe me, I'm not, I'm not living in a fantasy land, but to me, sometimes I think we get so caught up in dealing with the problem and focused on that we don't pay attention to or talk about what's the fix. You look at the headlines in this morning's paper, and it talks about where Douglas County ranks with the foreclosure rate and all, and it's so easy to get focused on the problem. But what do we do? And the chairman and I have talked about this quite a bit with, let's talk about what we're going to do in Douglasville and Douglas County to fix it. What are we going to do to, we know what, I think a lot of us, and certainly Ken with the banks and all, know what the problem is, but it's easy to stay focused on what the problem is, but let's talk about what we're going to do to fix it. We talk about collaborative efforts, and Ms. Boatwright, I think, is going to talk more about that at a later date, but that's something that, to me, we need to be focused on, is a collaborative effort with our community on what we're going to do to fix the problem. We know what the problem is. Let's define the problem, identify some solutions, and then see what we do as a community to take and fix it. It's kind of the old deal, is the glass half empty or is it half full? And it's real easy to focus on the glass being half empty or becoming empty. And it's just like the thing with unemployment. We can get focused on unemployment and the foreclosure rate, not to take away from what you're saying, because to fix a problem, you got to identify it and know specifically what it is. But once you identify it and know what it is, then if you're ever going to fix it, you got to come up with some solutions, and you got to work to implement those. And that's that collaborative effort that I think that hopefully we're going to talk a little bit more about at a later point, on what are we going to do as a community collaboratively to work together to fix this. Because like you say, and the chairman says, you can only cut so far, you can only cut so deep, and then you got to start working on some solutions. And what are we going to do as a community to do that? And then the same thing with that, as a community, if we don't do something about it and talk about it, the economy is not going to stay this way forever. Those of us that have been in and around it, I know Ken was in it in 80, 81, chairman, and some of the others, but what we're going through now pales in comparison to what was going on in 80, 81, and we came out of that. So same thing's going to happen now, I believe. But are we prepared to get up? It's kind of like surfing. I don't know how many of you have ever surfed, but if you miss the wave, the ride's over. You never get to ride it. But if we position ourselves to get on that crest, then as the economy picks up and takes off, we as a community will be positioned to ride that wave.
Hi, I'm Shan Weeks with Keep Douglasville Beautiful, and my CITI TV is good for the environment.
Welcome to News and Views with your mayor. I'm Harvey Persons, and this morning we have with us our county chairman, Tom Worthan. And Chairman, I'm glad to have you with us this morning and looking forward to the time we're going to get to spend and talk with our viewers, or let you talk to our viewers and tell them a little bit about you and your history. And if you're ready, we'll get started.
Well, I'm ready, and Mayor, thank you for inviting me. This is, I think, my first appearance on CITI TV, so I'm glad to be here.
Well, great, thank you. I know you got a busy schedule, and we were passing, I guess, a little bit yesterday down at ARC. And we passed in the halls and had some comments during the meeting, but enjoyed being able to meet with you down at ARC.
And I want to congratulate you on your appointment to what I consider probably the best committee you can be on with the Atlanta Regional Commission, and that's the Transportation and Air Quality, which I chair, by the way.
I was going to say, so, you're the chair for that.
Absolutely, and we're glad to have you on that committee. The reason that's an important committee is better than 50% of the federal funding that comes through the state of Georgia come through that committee. So it's good to have two Douglas Countyans on that committee.
I'm looking forward to it, and I believe you chaired it last year, and then with the committee appointments you got reappointed, which tells me that the ARC has confidence in your leadership and what you did with the Transportation Committee last year, and so they reappointed you chairman, and I'm looking forward to working with you.
Well, I look forward to working with you as well.
Great, thank you.
And that's doing good things for the city of Douglasville and Douglas County.
That's what we're all about. Let's open up a little bit. You and I have been friends for, gosh, 20 years or so, and we've worked together on different things within the community. I served for 7 years on the county's P&Z board.
As the chairman's appointee.
And I was going to say, and you appointed me to that, and I appreciate that. And that shows, I believe, that we have a confidence in each other, and we can certainly work together.
Absolutely.
But what I'd like to do is open up a little bit and tell the viewers, if you will, a little bit about you and your history. And I know some of them know, but they don't know maybe that you're from Douglas County. So if you would share a little bit of that with us.
Well, I will. Thank you. You know, of course, I was born and raised here. There's a lot of new people that come into Douglas County. There's not too many of us left that can say we were born and raised here in Douglas County. But was raised down on Fairburn Road, believe it or not. At the time, Douglas County was very small back in those years, and we've really grown a lot. But my father was the mayor of the city of Douglasville. Right. He never knew that I would ever be involved in politics. He passed away in 1979, and he was in office as mayor at that time. And never knew that I would get involved in government, but I had a lot of people to come to me after he died and ask me to run for office. And really didn't have much interest, but I thought, well, I would like to follow up on some of the things that my father started here in the city of Douglasville. One being, he was always wanting a park on the north side of Douglasville. And thanks to the city council and the mayor back in those days, they built a passive park over there on the north side and named it the J. Tom Worthan Park. So I'm sure that he's looking down on us and is very proud and thankful to the city council and the mayor for naming that park after him. And
that park, I might add, is still a very active part of the north side, and there's a lot of events that are held over there. And like you say, I know he'd probably be very pleased with that.
I think you would. But getting back to my early days, I have my wife of 44 years in July.
Now, I know Miss Linda's not old enough to be married.
Well, she's not. She was 9 years old when we got married.
She was a child bride.
She was a child bride. But we have 3 children and 4 grandchildren. And, you know, I can't retire anytime soon because I've got to stay in shape and be able to get out and play football with those grandsons out in the yard. But
keeps us young, doesn't it?
It keeps us young, absolutely. But, you know, I decided to stay in Douglas County. I worked for Fulton Paper Company for 35 years, and basically was on the road in sales and enjoyed doing that. But I've had a lot of opportunities to go to other places, and I've heard you say on a number of occasions that you decided to stay here in the city of Douglasville because it was a wonderful place to live. And it is. We have wonderful people here in Douglas County and Douglasville, and it's just home to me, and I plan on staying here forever myself.
Good. Well, that's the thing we talk about. I think you said that you grew up down on Fairburn Road, and it wasn't 4-lane then, was it?
No, it wasn't.
Well, it's
I'm really giving away how old I am, but it wasn't even paved when we lived there to start with, so that's a long time ago.
Well, it's kind of like when I first moved out here. I certainly haven't been out here that long, but I've been out here 35 years. And when I first moved to Douglas County, I-20, believe it or not, stopped at Highway 5.
Yes, it did.
And I tell people that, and they go, it stopped at Highway 5? And then they ask, well, how did you get to Alabama? I said, believe it or not, you went Highway 7 to 8. And they go,
that's right.
All the way to Alabama? I said, yeah. But both of us have, to me, a long history here in Douglas County. You certainly longer than me. And then, like you said, you've chosen to stay in Douglas County, as I also have. I could have lived anywhere in the Atlanta metropolitan area to do what I did for a living. And then 12 years ago, when I built my home over here off of Whitley Drive, I chose to stay in Douglas County because of the people, the friendships, and just the rich history that we have here in Douglasville and Douglas County.
Absolutely.
So I think we share the same ideas and visions. And if you would, I'd like for you to give us a little bit of insight into what your vision and thoughts are about Douglasville, Douglas County, and where you'd like to see the county go.
Well, you know, I've heard, Mayor, that you talked about it a number of times during your campaign and since you've been elected mayor, that your goal is to make Douglas County and the city of Douglasville the premier place to live in this country. We're not a long way from that, so we don't have a whole lot of work to do. What we have to continue to do is manage the growth that will come back to Douglas County. I don't think we did a real good job of that back in the 80s and 90s. I think we in the county and the city as well have put in place the ordinances that will manage the growth when it does come back, and it'll come back. You know, the ARC today projects that our population will double over the next 25, 30 years. As long as I'm here, it's not going to grow that fast.
You plan on being chairman that long?
I plan on being chairman at least one more term. Anyway.
Okay.
But I think we have to manage the growth, and we have to dictate what type of growth that we have. We have to work through the Atlanta Regional Commission with livable centers initiatives such as we have down the Fairburn Road corridor. We have to manage the growth in the Chapel Hill area all the way to 166. So we've got our jobs cut out for us, but I can see nothing but good things for Douglas County. We need to continue to make efforts to bring jobs to our county. That's one thing we need to do now in both the city and the county, because we have a number of people who are out of work right now. And when you consider the jobs that we've lost, most of those have been in construction. You know, a lot of home builders in Douglas County are not in business any longer. And every morning, most of the people in the city of Douglasville, well, I say most, probably 75% of those people are on our interstate to go to work outside of Douglasville and Douglas County. So we've got to make sure that we look at not only Douglasville and Douglas County, but the region as a whole. Since most of our people are going outside of our county, it's important. Transportation is a very important issue. You see the congestion that we have on Interstate 20 every day. And I'm going to plug the TIA a little bit here, if it's all right.
Sure.
Not telling people to support it. I'm telling people to take a look at it and see if it's advantageous for them to vote yes on the transportation sales tax. One of the projects that we have in that on that TIA list is interchange improvements at Interstate 20 and I-285. That's where our traffic backs up every morning. If you can get past that interchange, you can get downtown to your job pretty easily. But that's one of the projects that are on that list.
Well, that's the thing, and you and I both been on the Transportation Committee, and one of the things that we hear out of ARC, and I think it's very important, is the local relevance but regional impact.
Yes.
we're not an island out here by ourselves, and like you said, and I think that's something we want to get more into with our shows and educating the public so that they can make an educated decision when it comes to voting for TIA, so that they know exactly what we're doing. And I think that's exactly what you're talking about, is informing the citizens of the regional impact, but yet the local relevance that it has to us.
Absolutely.
Because, like I said, we're not an island out here by ourselves, and things that we do have a regional impact. And we're fortunate enough to be within 20 to 30 minutes, depending on where you live in the city or the county, of the busiest international airport in the world.
That's right.
Very fortunate that. But then because of that and people coming to Douglasville and Douglas County, it has a regional impact. And you mentioned the thing with the jobs. That's something that we're both cognizant of, is the need for jobs in our community. But one thing I think that people don't understand sometimes is government is not really responsible for creating jobs.
Absolutely.
But it's up to us to create, or to help create, an environment that then makes it attractive for companies to want to come to our community.
Absolutely. I agree with you totally, and I, for one, don't believe government creates jobs as well. We create the climate that would bring people jobs to Douglas County. And we have a lot to offer. I've heard you say this before, and I certainly agree with you. We still have affordable land. We still have a good transportation system, although it is starting to get congested in peak hours. But there's so much we have to offer. We have a capable workforce, and we continue to work with our local colleges. Doesn't have to have a college degree.
Correct.
They do have to have a skill, though. And there's a lot of jobs out there that there's no people, we don't have skilled labor to fill those jobs. So the technical schools are very important. But we have so much to offer in Douglas County. Low taxes, for one thing. Believe it or not, we have the second lowest millage rate in the metropolitan area. And that's somewhat misleading, because Cherokee County is the only county that has a lower millage rate, but the median house range in Cherokee County is over $200,000. The median range house in Douglas County is just a little over $100,000. So we're collecting fewer taxes than any county in the metro Atlanta area. Right.
And like you said, that's something that certainly is attractive about Douglasville and Douglas County. But we have so many other things to offer that would make this an attractive place for people to want to come. We have plenty of green space available. We have one of the best water and sewer authorities in the country. They're always being ranked the highest in the country.
Best drinking water in the state.
Right, until, in talking to our WSA director, he brought it to my attention that they had won it so many times that they changed it so that you couldn't win it so many times in a row. So he was a little disappointed in that. But I think that shows the quality of the water and sewer system that we have, and that we're continuing to build on, have an excellent reservoir system. And like I said, our proximity to Hartsville International Airport, the transportation system that we have with rail, the interstate. There's just so many things that make it an attractive place for people to want to come to live.
That's right.
And we have the historic value that we have within our community. We have a rich history in that. And I think you and I, that's something we talked about, maybe trying to develop a little walking, riding tour that would talk about Douglasville and Douglas County and the rich history that we have. And, you know, I think we're going to maybe get into that in a little while. And I'm looking forward to it, because I know you've been here longer than I have, but there are things that I found out every day about Douglasville and Douglas County that go, gosh, I didn't know that. So I think we want to put something together so that we can promote that history that we have to offer.
You know, that's absolutely true. We can get people together like Dot Paget and Mr. Alberson and people like that, Joe Phillips. And I learned something. I've been here a long time, and I still learn something from every show that we have regarding history of Douglasville and Douglas County. It's like you said, we have so much history, not only here in Douglasville, but look at the Lithia Springs area, how much history we have in that area. And we're going to make sure that we preserve that history.
Well, tell me a little bit about your future plans. You want to continue to stay involved, or are you just going to retire and ride off into the sunset? Or
no,
people have asked me that before. Why do you keep doing this?
I know. Well, I'm much too young to retire.
Oh, I know.
But no, we've accomplished a lot in Douglas County over the last. I'm in my second term, in my 8th year, and it is election year. But there's so much. I don't want to look back and say, well, we've accomplished this and we've accomplished that. I want to look forward to what we can accomplish in the future. And there's a number of things we need to do. We need to continue to provide recreational facilities for our children.
Right.
You don't like building big jails to put people in. And by the way, most of the people in our jail are not Douglas County.
They're from out of
They're
county.
from out of county, that's right. But no, there's things we need to do. We need to build a new animal shelter for one thing. I'm going to do my State of the County address next month, and the proceeds from that State of the County address will go toward a new animal shelter. So there's a number of things we want to do. We want to bring those jobs back to Douglas County. You know, even if it's construction started back today, and it's going to be a while, we have a lot of empty houses. But when the home building industry comes back in Douglas County, our unemployment rate will be cut in half.
Sure.
So that's some of the things we want to do. There's a lot to be done, and hopefully I'll be around to accomplish
Well, I know we're
goals.
about to run out of time, but let me just briefly touch on one other thing, if I may. And I heard a lot of things on the campaign trail about the city and the county and us working together.
Absolutely.
And when I opened the show, I talked about we've been friends for a long time, and I think our viewers need to know that you and I have even met, not clandestinely, if you will, but very openly.
Mm-hmm.
But just you and I have met, and we've talked about the city and the county working together, and we have a rich history of being able to do that in the past, and that we want to continue to do that.
Right.
We've both agreed that we won't always agree, but that we'll work together for what we've talked about on this show, and that is the betterment of the community that we live in. And it truly is a community. It's a city and a county, but then it's a community. And I think we both share the same values and vision for what we want to help make it become.
I think to be successful and to work together, you have to communicate.
Sure.
No doubt. I've been very impressed that you've been in office a little over 3 weeks now, and you and I have probably met at least a half a dozen times already. We have to continue to do that, continue to be open, and as you say, we're not going to agree on everything. No. But, you know, I was elected countywide to represent both city and county residents. They get to vote for or against me. So I think there's a number of issues that we need to sit down and discuss. We've talked about some of them. There's probably some more. I think what we have to do, oftentimes governments take a look at the amount of revenue coming in, and they're going to spend that amount of revenue. I think we have to take a look at the total cost of providing those services. And let's sit down and, is there any way that we can cut taxes in the city and the county governments?
Right.
Probably so. But let's sit down and take a look at the cost of those services. If we can consolidate some of those, that would be wonderful. Okay. So let's keep that avenue open.
I don't want to cut you off, but our folks are telling me we're about to run out of time. But just to add to a point that you're talking about there, so many times I think people lose sight of the fact that, yes, we are the city, but I'm also a county resident.
Absolutely.
So what happens in the county, I'm truly very concerned about, as it affects the city and the county.
Right.
So it's got to be good for both of us. But in closing, I'd like to say thank you for coming. I know you got a very busy schedule, but I really appreciate the time you've given us today, and I truly look forward to working with you in the future.
Thank you, Mayor. I look forward to working with you as well.
Thank you.